All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we are unpacking a feeling, or actually, scratch that, a profound lack of feeling that so many of us hit but kind of rarely understand. If you've been running on empty for way too long, your brain might literally just pull the plug on your emotions. So, over the next few minutes, we're going to explore exactly why our overworked brains just completely shut down and how we can actually structure a path to gently bring them back online. So let me ask you something. When you picture burnout, what do you actually see? Do you imagine someone, crying at their desk, or maybe having a massive panic attack under pressure? But what if burnout doesn't always look like that? Have you ever just felt completely empty? Like someone flipped a switch and just suddenly drained all the color and energy right out of your day? Okay, let's dive into this because society basically trains us to expect burnout to be loud. We expect the panic, the tears, the visible breakdown, right? But the actual reality of severe burnout, it's often just complete emotional flatness. It's this quiet, heavy silence, right where you'd normally expect to find chaos. Which brings us to section 1, the hidden face of burnout. Now, if you're sitting there right now thinking, wow, I honestly thought there was something wrong with me because I just don't feel anything anymore, I really want to validate that for you right here. That profound lack of feeling, it is not a sign that you're broken, and this brilliantly illustrates why. The brain turns down emotional volume because full feeling has become too expensive. When you're severely depleted, feeling every single emotion at full blast takes a tremendous amount of energy. Energy that, frankly, you simply do not have to spare anymore. Moving right along to section 2, the cost of feeling. So we validated the experience, but let's actually look at the biological mechanics behind this deep exhaustion. Think of your nervous system kind of like a high-performance engine. Prolonged overload literally forces you to run in the red zone. That's a highly demanding state called hyperarousal. But obviously, you can't stay there forever. Eventually, just to stop the engine from completely failing, your nervous system has to drastically shift gears. It drops from that super high-demand hyperarousal right into a profound protective shutdown, just to instantly reduce the demand. So the crucial point is, this biological shift is called protective dulling, and it is a brilliant conservation strategy. Your nervous system is deliberately reducing emotional demand just so you can survive that prolonged overload. It is absolutely vital to frame it this way. This isn't a personal failure. It's not a flaw in your character. It is a recognized, genuinely brilliant biological survival tactic that's literally keeping you going. And when we enter this state of protective dulling, the symptoms are super specific. And honestly, they can be deeply painful. You might notice your interest in things you usually love just totally drops off. Joy suddenly feels entirely inaccessible. And perhaps the hardest part, important relationships, the people we care about the absolute most, can start to feel emotionally far away. It's incredibly unsettling when you really want to connect with a loved one, but you just can't find the internal capacity to actually do it. That takes us to section 3, misreading the numbness. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how, because protective dulling is almost entirely internal, it causes massive friction in our lives. We fall into this misinterpretation trap. The people around us, and let's be real, sometimes our own highly critical inner voice, might look at this numbness and misread it as laziness or ingratitude, or they might even think you've undergone some terrible negative personality change. They just see the surface and drastically misinterpret your very real physiological survival mode as a series of personal flaws. But please take this to heart. The system is trying to survive by simply reducing demand. That's it. You are not broken. You are not inherently flawed. You definitely aren't lazy, and you aren't ungrateful. You are literally just operating in a necessary biological power-saving mode. Which leads us to our final section, section 4, the gentle path back. Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual, deeply hopeful way out of this. Because it really starts with building a sustainable foundation. Step 1 is sleep. You absolutely have to restore your physical baseline. Step 2, reduce load, meaning you must actually take things off your plate. Step 3 is body regulation, actively calming down your physical nervous system. And step 4, safe pleasure. Now, we're not talking about massive, overwhelming vacations here. We mean small, gentle experiences, like just a quiet cup of coffee or a quick 5-minute walk in the sun. We are systematically coaxing the brain back to life. Because the whole goal of those 4 steps is simply helping the brain trust that full engagement is possible again. You see, recovery isn't about forcing yourself to feel things. Doing that That just adds way more demand to an already overloaded system. Instead, it's about creating enough physical and psychological safety so that your brain finally feels comfortable turning that emotional volume back up. So, I want to leave you with this final, slightly provocative thought to carry with you today. What if your numbness isn't a failure, but actually your body's brilliant way of surviving? Think about it. Once you flip your perspective and see your exhaustion for what it truly is, the path to healing becomes so much clearer. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Be gentle with yourselves, and I'll catch you next time.